Hey, let's do this. Crowdfunding roundup. Yes! The Bitewing Special Nizia Classic, a new game from Flatout, and a little bit of everything else in between. Did you miss it earlier this week? Don't back stuff. As always, though, let me know what you think. Unpopular Board Game Opinions video number 1 was, I'll say, relatively successful. I thought it was going to go viral, right? The way you guys were commenting on there. I think that's probably my most commented video on ever. And surprisingly, or I guess unsurprisingly, a lot of you actually agreed with me. I guess that's why you tuned into the channel in the first place, right? Similarities. Quick poll. Is this video helpful? Do you guys like this? Because, you know, it's putting them on your radar, giving you a simplistic mechanical breakdown of what you may be interested in so that then you can go check it out a little bit further yourself. Not me trying to act like I know every single thing about all of these. Let me know in the comment section down below and thumb it. I guess I'm remembering to say that in videos now. Let's go. Now, Knitting Circle, side note here. Apparently thumbing your own videos, there was this rumor going around that if you thumb your own videos, it helps them get viral faster. I don't know, whatever, right? I don't even tell people to do that in my videos. You guys are doing pretty good though, you know? If we can get a little bit of that better ratio, you know, 3,000 views, 150 thumbs, thumb it! Anyway, $100,000, Knitting Circle. I first saw this and I was like, did somebody click the wrong button there? 58 days to go. Anyway, this is in the line of Calico, and just reading the rules, you're going to see already that this is going to be a little bit heavier than the previous Flatout Games comparisons, and that's probably why it's most similar to Calico, you know, regardless of the thematic similarities there, because you're going to be going over 6 rounds. You're going to be just hopping your little kitty around the Rondel-esque vibe and just gathering yarn. And you get 4 yarn per round, and then you have these patterns, as you can see next to the board, and you just fill them up, and you're going to be making patterns a la the different requirements or the different ways you can do it in the game in the first place. And if you do it just kind of cruddy, well, you get an ugly pattern, ugly sock, whatever ribbon, and you get like -3 points. But it gives you a variety of ways to do that, as well as some mitigation, because you actually have to be able to flip them over depending on what side they're on. It is going to have some spatial element there too, and so you're gonna have to discard in order to have a little bit of mitigation there as well. So you do that over 6 rounds, and then you see who scores the most amount of points. That's the game in a nutshell. You've got your buttons to go along with that you're going to be gathering and utilizing, because if ones are having buttons as well, somehow that's going to allow you to score them more than once potentially. The grabby paws are also going to be able to mitigate some of the randomness or the chance it's going to be coming, because as you're moving your little kitty around, you can only move at 1 or 2 spaces, and spaces are defined as basically where other people aren't, as well as where there are tokens. So if there's an empty area when you're going around, that doesn't count as one of your 1 or 2. Or if there's somebody in your way, you can't go in the same area as them. So those are the sort of things that you're going to be having to deal with. You can see the garments here, and they're going to be optional sections on these as well as required sections. So required sections meaning if you don't have those filled, you will not score it whatsoever. And optional meaning you can get additional points if you so choose there. You can see the buttoning that goes along with it. They give you a little bit of otherwise objective scoring at the bottom here, and you get to see them in all the different colors as well. The request cards that are going to be going along with that during the game, you lay like 4 of them out, I think, in the advanced mode. They say a little bit of deluxe locations, a little bit of deluxeified kitty tokens there, and you can get a little bit of a unique player board to go along with it. And is this 2 different size circles too? So there you go. And as with all Flatout games, it's going to be what, $25, and you get a little mini expansion to give you a little bit extra promo here with that. So 12 double-sided unique request cards to go along with it, which is probably a relatively decent amount. And if you want to get a little Calico mini expansion, well, you can do that too. And it uses stuff from Knitting Circle to play a modified version of Knitting Circle or Calico combined. So anyway, that's everything on the page, right? You complete these garments, create the sequences that you need, grabby paws to extra tiles or spend the yarn to do other actions that you need, and then the request cards if you can satisfy the goals in the first place. So Rulebook is there, everything is there. You can try it out online. There's a solo mode as with all of the flat out games, and all of the cool people have videos on here, so they're going to explain it in a much more succinct, much more robust way, and you can check that out as well. Flat out games, 58 days to go. Are you even going to remember this in 30? Whoa. Anyway, but you know, Kickstarter, stop it, you're drunk. And we'll go on to the next page because we got the Bitewing trilogy here. Nick, you got some splaining to do, boy. Silos, I'm okay with. Ego, very happy with. Orbit, though? Bro, I saw the FAQ over on Board Game Geek, man. Wandering Towers and the comparisons to that. Wandering Towers for me is one of my favorite games of all time, so I'm gonna have to get my hands on Orbit. But we're getting off track here. This is the secret project that I covered earlier this week. I only covered Ego, though, so I can give you the most detail and experience on that. Orbit is the second most interesting, or arguably, now that I've seen what it's offering, maybe even the most interesting. And Silos is an area control majority style of things that just looks absolutely freaking off the wall ball crazy. And that's why Nick didn't send me that one. He knows how I feel about area control, or he doesn't, or he just, yeah, he watches. I'm sure Nick's watching right now. What I'm saying, though, is, you know, of the three, I would be, you know, in that order. And that's the question, right? With all three of these are significantly different. That is a great thumbnail. I just can't get over that thumbnail for a second. Okay, $55 though, the Bitewing Deluxeification, just like with a lot of the others, the Garfils or the Chip Theories, you're getting a little bit of Deluxeification to go each one of these, and that's why you're going to back it on crowdfunding, right? But it's going to cost you a freaking metric ton to get all of them, so that's why, as I always say, on any crowdfunding campaign that offers multiple games, you have to love all of them. And so for me, like, okay, like I really like Ego. I think I would love Orbit, though, and we'll talk about that, but let's go through these in order so you can know what they're doing. Or Silos here, like I said, I almost said or Silos, Orbit, Silo. Anyway, I'm done. Squirrel. So it's an area majority game where you're going to be playing one of the three cards from your hand or taking the top card off of the deck. And this is the common deck. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be manipulating around your 7 little aliens from each of these 6 locations. Each of these 6 locations are going to have an asymmetric power. Each of these cards in the common deck, I think, are almost all unique. And they're all going to activate different things on different parts of the board. All the powers, some of the powers, one of the powers, or manipulation of spatial arrangements that are going along with this. And when certain things get triggered, including the UFO moving around, you're going to be slowly capturing up humans and getting a set collection style if you have all 4 types. It's like a influencer, a politician, and 2 others that I'm completely blanking on. But you need 4, essentially, is what I'm saying. And if you get that, that gets you one of the special endgame things, and you do that like 5 times. I think 5? Yeah, 5. We'll go with it, right? I read the rule book mostly. Story of all my videos. I realize, side note here, I have to just stop explaining rules on a lot of my reviews because inevitably I almost screw up a rule or 2 every single time, and nice people in the comment section let me know, and I promise I'm not playing it wrong, but you would be shocked. Explaining stuff on camera is horrible sometimes. And so I'm just going to stop explaining rules. I think I'm going to go to a whole new review format where I just tell you my opinions. Reviews, opinions only, right? As my opposite sort of unpopular opinion is I don't like previews because they have no opinions. Anyway, I'm digressing here. But what you're essentially doing, though, in Silos is that you're going to be also grabbing cows, right? Cows are wild cards for those people that you just need to gather. And so either if the people fill up an area they're in, that's going to trigger you getting them, or if the UFO goes there and whoever has the most area influence, that's going to get you the cow. If you're playing with 3 or 4 people, then the second person gets a human. So you're slowly going to be gathering up in that regard, and you have 3 of your own unique cards in front of you that you can play if you're not willing to risk drawing the top card off the deck. But you keep track of these cards so you can see what's left, or you can start to negotiate or figure out that way what you have available to you. So Silos it just looks fantastic, but it looks fantastically chaotic. And so it really gives me that vibe. And if you're not a fan of that, I would probably avoid it. And I think the moving of your figures and then activating the card, it's just, straightforward. This is another Nizia game where this is not going to be the depth of the rulebook. It's going to be the depth of the strategy on the board game. And that's where all 3 of these are going to be shining. Position them, influence them. There you go, right? There it is. What are we doing? Oh, they didn't list them out, but you need 4. Take my word for it. Then we get down and you have a little bit of an expansion, I believe, right here, the crop circles, which add more of an asymmetric power or ability that you can do, as well as influence at open locations. And then we go down to the next one, Ego, which is the one I covered, which is more of like a bidding, bluffing, auction style mechanic-ish, as you're traversing a little ship, simultaneously doing the actions, and then bidding, essentially playing cards from your hand to outbid other people to get the reward on the little circular area that you want in the first place, and then doing that through a series of 5 boards in order to get the most victory points at the end. It's clever, it's straightforward, it's a remake of 2005's Beowulf, and I think it just freaking works. So you can check out, again, smarter people on this page than me that are going to show you how it plays. You have these little discs that you're going to be utilizing to cover up these areas, as you can see if you look closely. Whoa, I didn't mean to do that, but it worked. You have these 5 different areas on this circle, and you use those little shapes to cover up anywhere from 1 to 3 of those, and then if you win the bidding bluffing, you can get the reward that you want. However, the triangle here in the left of the circle is the risk mechanic, where you can draw 2 cards off the top of the deck and see if you match. If you match both of them, you just get them with no penalty. If you match one of them, you get to keep the card that you match, but you take the penalty. If you match neither of them, no penalty, you're just adult. The aliens are embarrassed by you, but they're not offended. And so that's the name of the game. Whoa, that was kind of crazy how that happened. I did not totally mean to do that. I mean, I knew you could do that, but anyway, sideways. III expansion, the interstellar interludes and interruptions. It gives you just 2 little sideboards that go in between, 1 at the end of the ships, but then 2 between the ships. And I really kind of like them because they allow you to then show cards without having to lose them, because when you're bidding in these cards, you actually lose the cards and you're slowly replenishing your hand, and that's your lifeblood. So I think that's really freaking awesome. And, you know, the chips are nice. So I'd be really interested in that one as well, as someone. Whoa, there we go. Okay, there we go. There's my quote too. Here we go though. We're talking about Orbit, and essentially what you're doing in Orbit is you're playing a card from your hand, you're utilizing it to collect energy, but basically slingshotting yourself through space, trying to get to all the 7 planets, I believe 7 planets that you're trying to acquire as sort of a set collection, but you're really just going to the location. So it's really just a visiting style of things, but you're going to have things like hyperspace tokens. You're going to have things that are going to not only shift your token, but also the planets, and the planets are going to be rotating, and the planets are going to be moving, and if you're on the planet, you move with the planet. And so it's going to be trying to negotiate as well as plan accordingly to out anticipate what your opponents are going to do, as you're slowly upgrading not only the hand size of the cards that you can have in the hand in the first place to be able to play from, but also the energy capacity that's going to allow you to move extra spaces on your turn in the first place. Like I said, hyper jump portals, hyper accelerator cannons, and fuel depots. Nick, I'm excited by this game. I'm excited by this game. So that's what you're getting there. Nebula expansion here, hyper accelerator engine, unlimited straight line movement, more navigation tokens, more everything. So yeah, that got added to my wish list actually before I filmed this video. So again, you can check it out there. And plushie. People on Reddit are like, oh, they jumped the shark with the plushie. Man, it's all tongue-in-cheek. If you don't want a plushie of yourself at some point, or like I've said previously, if you don't want yourself as a promo in a game, oh, you're in the wrong hobby. Anyway, I'm going to get myself in trouble. That's not why you watch this. Actually, that's totally why you watch this. So there you go. Check it all out. Again, I don't mind the art. I actually like Orbit's art a lot. I really like Ego's art. I'm not as big on Silos in all those phases of things, but that's also why they didn't send me Silos. But that would be my order. I'd probably go Orbit first, Ego's second. And that's, you know, despite me really liking Ego, I really love the idea of Orbit as a Wandering Tower-esque implementation. And that's also why it's got $119,000. So check it out. Half Truth, second game. This is the sequel to the original Half Truth party game, right? It's got Richard Garfield and Ken Jennings, and you're getting a free Pomo pack. That's why you're doing it, right? You're just drawing, reading questions, choosing answers that you think other people are going to potentially guess, and you see what the correct answers actually were. Don't have incorrect answers? Score accordingly. So it's a party game. I look at this as, you know, it's a crowdfunding to get the swell out there, and then I guarantee something like this is going to end up in, you know, Target in a very near future. So it's probably not one of those that ever needs to go on crowdfunding in the first place, but it's probably going to get the leeway and sort of the momentum to get the attraction of some of those big boxes. And, you know, truth be told, it's not going to raise a ton of money. It's probably going to have the least of some of these ones that we're talking about in this video. But that being said, you know, the money is not on crowdfunding, folks. The money is in retail. So I'd imagine that that's what you're going to see, and that's what you're going to see a lot of going forward. Sublime Dark. I was super excited to cover this and super excited to hear more about this. This is the one from Tristan Hall and Hall or Nothing Games that's sort of been lurking for a while. It's sort of been named for a while, just no details, no launch date. And then all of a sudden earlier this month, they said it's launching this month. And I was like, okay, show me more. $77,000. Now, I'm gonna be a little critical, right? Because I love stuff, but I can also be critical of the stuff I love. And again, not like being a jerk, but the premise of it, and again, I read through the comments, and Tristan, I trust you. At the same time, the premise is that you just have to trust us. We're not going to show you any gameplay details. We're not going to show you the rulebook. We're not going to show you anything about this because it would be spoilers. And in good conscience, I trust. At the same time, it's a free loan. And if I don't know exactly what I'm getting, I've been too often burned by what I think I'm going to like and what I actually like. Because this is a 1 to 4 player game in the scale or the attitude of Gloom of Kilforth with card-driven tableau action selection resource management, right? Although now they're adding on the roguelike dungeon crawl as you're moving across these cards and really adding the encounter and the delving. The problem is I don't know exactly what you're doing with these. I don't understand, exactly what you're going to be showing me with the enemy encounter cards, with the soul cards, because there's like an emotional thing and you're having to balance it out and use different ones depending on the character and the personal objectives they pursue. And that's the problem, right? Is, everything I just described to you is the most that you're going to get on this page about what it actually is. It just talks about the delves, a series of them together to make the campaign page, right? That's what I was just talking about. I actually got a response from Floodgate Games. I appreciate you guys commenting, and they're like, we learned a lot of things from Zagata Artisans, because I made a tongue-in-cheek joke about offering colored pencils, right? And they said, we're looking back and we probably wouldn't do that again. And that's what I asked for, is people are saying, okay, I take the feedback, and I don't mean to be critical. I don't mean to be like, hurtful. I mean to be critical in terms of helping. And so I look at this and I go, this is why sort of legacy games on crowdfunding don't work, because this might be a fantastic game, but I have been once burned, twice shy on crowdfunding games I think I'm going to like but don't have enough information on. Again, they run you through the tile exploration of what you're going to be doing on some of these areas, but I don't understand some of this stuff, right? Gain a fear, gain a clue. How do the eremites, whatever, actually work? Concealed to hide. What does hiding do? Silver candle. Now, I don't, again, addictive card play overview there. I mean, and they say right in the comment section, and he's very upfront, like, this is all the information you're going to get. But at the same time, I can't probably pledge for this if I'm a consumer without a little more information. I love me some Hopium, but I need more information a little bit, me personally, to give me some sense of some of the dynamics. And so I have no problem with feeling like this is going to be a solid game from them. They've put out very solid games in this line of things. But the question is it going to be a solid game for you? If you're a big fan of their previous ones, it's probably going to be closer than not. If you're not, or some of their other ones haven't been to your ilk, this one probably isn't going to stray far enough from that. I would wager. I'd be happy to eat crow too. And so that's what you got to think about. It's got 77 grand though, so it's doing good so far. We'll see where it goes. Mage Noir. This is the 3rd season, I believe, of Mage Noir, and we're getting the animal Aenigma. That's a new way of spelling Enigma, right? That's the British version way of spelling it, Chris. I don't actually know if that is the case. I don't think so. You guys don't spell it that way, do you? You spell center and a few other games. Aluminium. Anyway, sorry, squirrel. Expandable card game. Okay, $65,000. And the issue is, it's sort of a Magic the Gathering style vibe, only you have a shared mana pool. And I remember this actually, and I'd refresh myself, but like you pick like 3 cards and then you divide them into 2 piles, each of you. And so then you each pick like a stack and you use that mana and it like stays out there in some ways and your opponent can use it, and you play your cards that have a certain cost. But then if you don't like execute the effect right away, then you can use them to play like future costs of cards as well. And you're going back and forth with the Magic the Gathering style vibe. But apparently, like, per some of the comments, again, this is not me being an aficionado by any means, right? That there's not a lot of defense. It's a lot of mage, attack, spell. And now this is offering more animus, essentially. You get your asymmetric animals that are going to go along with your deck in the 40 card system with a 10 card side deck that you're going for in the first place, with a deck construction style as well. So you have to be a deck constructor. They say there's going to be a competitive scene, or there is a competitive scene. They've got a Discord. They've got all these stuff set up. So if you want this, if you like this, that's, what you're getting here. You get something like 4 copies of each card to be able to go along with it, so you can actually build your deck and utilize it in that sense. Like I said, the shared mana pool that they highlight there, crafting your spells your way, because there's no real limitations on what ones you want to put with what other ones. And this is your single animal deck that you're using to basically optimize all of the other abilities to go along with it. Discounted price, a small small indie team, you know, get all the other stuff that goes along with it. It's going to cost you another $65 plus shipping to get in, though, if you're new at this point. And if you're just returning and getting all the new stuff, it's going to cost you $87 before shipping, because you're getting 6 expansions there. And I believe there's at least 6 out in the first place. And so, I mean, that's a ton of content. And, you know, again, from an LCG, ECG, TCG, FCG, whatever letter you want to put in front of it, that's a lot of stuff to be able to sort through and build from. And I'm not good at that. And so I can say, again, this is more of a lifestyle game that you're going to have to build, construct, build, construct, build, construct. If you're not, I mean, they do have some predetermined, pre-allocated stuff that you can look up online and on Discord, and even I'll link on this page or even on Board Game Geek, so that you can do it yourself and you don't need to think through it as much as you may want to otherwise, or may not have the ability to. So you can check that out. But that's going to be the main highlight. And what are the differences between the expansions? I have no idea whatsoever. And the other thing that you can do is solo or co-op as well. With up to 3 friends, you can do 2-on-2, all of that stuff as well. The advanced rules are sort of like almost the rule. The advanced rules here are sort of like the clarifications of all of them. It's not actually a good place to actually learn how to play the game. Believe me, I clicked on it earlier and found out. But it gives you sort of the what's the war games, how they, you know, bullet it and give you all the main points of all the main actions. That's kind of what this advanced rule book is. Here's the decks that you can, you know, build yourself, and that's everything. Shipping is going to be whatever, and it's the 3rd time around, and it's still raising tons of money, so people must like it and they must want to get more. So give them kudos. Mage Noir. Reefs and Ruins plus deluxe edition of their previous Wicked and Wise. And $8,000 for a roll and write, where you essentially have several different reefs that you're going to be utilizing, because as they say in the previous game, which I believe is a little bit more of a trick-taking style of things, that the hydras that are in this game comparatively to what the dragons and the whatever else it was, like squirrels or something, what did it say? Mice. Dragons and mice, like trick-taking and card games, aren't the best for hydras, so they live in the water. So you do an underwater roll and write, essentially, where you use 3 dice and you allocate them, and you have to play a certain number of dice to a certain number of area, because one of them only requires 1 dice, one of them requires 2 dice, and one of them requires potentially all 3 of them, as you slowly check them off, get bonuses, and find pearls in order to score more points. As I mentioned right here you go. Ship Ruins, you can place 1 or both of the remaining dice after you use 1 to unlock it. The enchantments need 2 dice, but you can place all 3 to get the bonus or multiply the value of the treasures that you're gathering. And then the reefs are where you're finding the pearls, and maybe you don't need 3 for that, actually. Yeah, you don't need 3 for that. Ignore what I said earlier. So 18 rounds of that, gathering the treasure, enchanting it, filling out, and go. You can simultaneously play and give each other bonuses and print and play as well. So again, there you go. Reefs, Ship Ruins, enchantments. Kind of interesting. I don't know. 3 boards, is that a little too much? Is that just enough? Is that going to be somewhere in between? And again, Wicked and the Wise, the trick taker here, you can bling the heck out of a trick taker with a deck holder and metal coins. Whoo dog. So yeah, treasure cards with trick taking. And this is the new expansion to go along with it. And 15 basic cards, 6 gold cards, and 6 treasure cards as well. I don't remember this one. I haven't heard too much about this on the trick-taking side of things. I mean, again, remember it being sort of relatively well thought of indie side of things from Weird Giraffe Games here. But if it's your interest, give them a look-see and see which one is right for you. Mutagen, Drawn to Games, is coming back with a worker placement style of things with, I believe, a 4-round system, multi-phase round per person, where you are slowly allocating your 4 different types of workers to the multiple different spots on the board. The tricky part is, with each spot has different abilities for each type of worker. Also, the first phase of every single round, before you even place any of those workers out there in the first place, is to customize and mutate, placing an actual little piece that is different, right there, as you can see, on their hands to help them mutate differently than your opponents. And you're going to be doing that on a round-by-round basis in order to make your unique workers different from everyone else's. The other tricky part is there's also a follow action, depending on if you place in a location that is right below somebody else's on the board in the first place. Customizable workers as you're going along, and then rinsing and repeating to get the most points with a Euro-style worker placement optimization strategy that you're probably very familiar with. So the reason you're probably going to get it here is deluxeifications. You've got some asymmetric characters and powers and bonuses that you're going to be gathering along the way. And deluxe edition here will get you a little bit more miniatures and a little bit more extravagant stuff. My question is, though, is this only in the deluxe edition? Let's check here, because how would you do that in the non-deluxe edition? Let's see. Okay, there are the crew members, and I don't see the little bonus things there. Okay, So if it's just on these things, what are they going to do with the other ones? I'll leave that up to them. But apparently in the deluxe edition too, you're getting 2 little expansions here. Turksy expansion! And Johnny Pack. I mean, we're going with the who's who right here. Visitor cards and a board, and people cards and some element tokens. Yeah, there you go. Exclusive, 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 with a little bit of the extra deluxeifications. And there you go. I think this one was over being tested at Essen too, so I'm sure there's some impressions over there from the Essen folks that post on Board Game Geek. Like I mentioned, you're activating the workers, activating the mutations to get the bonuses. Combinations are tons. Mining and gathering from those areas to gather the resources you need, impressing the influence and the area control in that sense, and slowly progressing through the tracks to get bonuses and points. I like the meeples though. These are cool meeples. I kind of like that robot. That robot's pretty freaking sweet. And so is this the spy down here? Is this the thug? I can't tell. That's the thug. That's the engineer. That must be the spy. The spy and the robot are pretty cool looking. And then they run you through all the different 10 types of adaptations and mutagens here that are going to give you different feels. So, I mean, that is relatively a lot. I guess, is that enough though to make it that much different from a Euro worker placement style if you're looking at this? So again, plenty of video content. You can check it all out there from an actual gameplay standpoint. How much are we at right now in terms of backers? $24,000, almost 400 backers. That's pretty good. Yeah, Dronda, good job. Kudos. There you go. Earth Tipping Point, literal tipping point cooperative survival game. Because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be playing these event cards and putting them on either side of things. And if you tip it over too far one way or the other, then you just physically lose the game as a whole. As a tableau building, hand management, and they say educational style of game. So you're going to get everything you see right here with the deluxeifications, including this disc and this board. And that's the deluxe version. I guess I'd wonder how you would do this at retail, because I just look at this and I go, ooh, that'd be a little tricky, right? It sort of reminds me, closely to Kabuto Sumo, not in the sense that you can't do it accurately with cardboard, but if you don't have that slight deluxeification upgrade in terms of the building of this, is the lesser version of it going to give you the same dramatic dynamic mechanic, or is it going to be slightly off? Because I can imagine that is a mechanical engineering either nightmare or masterpiece from that style of things. So I mean, it's giving you wooden discs as well. So, I mean, I guess if you're not using wooden discs, or wooden discs are a reason to incentive, like how are you going to do this with a cardboard style of things? Or is that going to be part of the retail style of things as well too? Disaster cards that you're playing over the escalation levels, you're slowly moving out your player board powers as you gain strength in each of those areas. And you have advisor powers that are asymmetric, going to give you some assistance as you navigate which countries that you're going to be utilizing. Disasters put pollution out there. You need to preservation tokens, and you need to balance it so that it stays in sync, or the earth is going to collectively go in down the chute. And then taking the project cards into a shared grid and getting synergy bonus based on the cards that are next to each other as you slowly manipulate them, cooperate, and replay again and again. So there you go. It's a little bit unique. I mean, it definitely is a strategy cooperatively, balancing it steadily, and track management all in a nutshell. I'd say, though, for me personally, I'd say try before I buy. Now, again, not because I think it's going to be bad, just because I don't know, man. I just don't know how I feel. I'm actually probably going to just have to watch some of these videos down here, some of the rules and some of the walkthroughs, because I want to see more. I want to see how this actually physically does on a turn-by-turn basis. And yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued more so than I thought I was going to be when I pulled up the page originally. And, pricing is about what it is. I mean, it's deluxeified, so it's a little bit more than I'd like, but it's also not surprising given the components and the aspects of the mechanical engineering of the board in the first place. So Earth 2053 Tipping Point. There you go. Planet of the Apes, the miniatures board game, $40,000 funded of the $55,000 funding goal. And we're getting sort of a cooperative apes versus humans style, a little bit like a skirmish-esque game where you take your actions and you just kind of go back and forth between the apes and the human players. You're going to be moving, you're going to have melee, you're going to have ranged attack, and they're doing the dice-based combat just slightly differently. I was just looking at my Andromeda's Edge the other day, and the combat there, is roll your dice, line highs up to highs, and just sequentially lay them down in that way, descending order, and that's how you decide who wins. Now with this one, you're doing something actually the opposite. You actually lay the attackers ascending, and you lay the defenders descending, and that's how you decide the wounds in these, characters. So it gives you a little bit of overview here on the page as a whole. The setup, very quick, they say. You're going to be using these miniatures to go along because that's the main feature on this page as a whole from an aesthetic and deluxeification standpoint. The anatomy of the card they lay out right here between the human and the ape. On those dice that I mentioned, you'll have special abilities or special rolls that will actually allow you to either level up the apes up to 3 levels or unlock more gear for the humans back and forth. Their action abilities, their interactions, the number of dice that they roll, as well as the movement and what their melee or ranged attack is in addition. So again, humans are the game AI system. Apes are you as the players. You're going to be doing orders in order to take the various actions you can see here, whether that is movement, combat, because you can ranged attack before the humans can see you, or interact on the map itself, because part of the deluxeifications, they offer you an upgraded terrain aspect, which involves building traps, pyres, or tunnels. And some of the heroes that you can call in are available, especially extra, through several of the expansions. I believe there's like 3 expansions plus the little follow expansion as a whole. So gives you an AI system that you're looking at and resolving the battle with the dice-based combat that I mentioned right there in the special sides. So that's what you're looking at here. You can try it out on Tabletop Simulator. The all-in is going to run you $200+, but that includes the 3 expansions that I mentioned. I think 3 expansions, right? Gameplay all-in. Yeah, 3 expansions. I was right. Second guessing myself here tonight, just like at the beginning of the video. And it also offers the terrain extra add-on there as well. So you just want the core and the reward box stretch goals. It's going to cost you a little over 100. Daily unlocks is what they're doing. So check that out if you want. And it's going to have a little bit of the stable pledge, and shipping is going to be, whoo, that's some expensive shipping there. Mexico, I'm sorry. And even the non-EU countries. Wow. Almost the cost of the pledge there. So you know what? There you go. It's going to be funded probably. Well, we'll see how true the funding goal this actually is, because I don't know what you're going to be looking at their total. Again, 181 backers, $40,000. That means that more people are seemingly, at least off the surface, getting in a little bit higher pledge level. So give it a look-see. Holiday Hijinks and the Master Detective Collection, 18 card escape room games from folks over here at Graham Gamers Guild, which just reminds me I need to really check out their Tir na Nog. And again, just one of those games that's just flown under my radar and haven't been able to acquire. But it's just getting pocket-sized 18 card escape room games. That's it, right? Scan the code, solve the puzzles. There you go. You get one of them, you can get, what is it, the 3 then right there for $36. Yeah, there you go. I've always said on this channel, escape rooms and this sort of thing is just not my vibe. I got an email in my inbox the other day earlier this week, and it was basically like, hey, do you want to do like the escape room puzzle crime game, 3 episodes, 3 hours each? And I asked my wife, and she's like, didn't we like have one of those previously with an app and we do really, really horrible? And I was like, oh yeah. So I politely declined on that one because, again, I suck at games. Quattro Trick Taking and Perfect Health Company, coming from Japan. Believe the Quattro Trick Taking is from the same designer as Ghosts of Christmas. You remember that all play. And then the designer of Perfect Health Company is someone who's done some of the Oink games as well. 7,000 of its 6,600, I think, gold that they said there. And we're going to talk about a couple of trick-taking games here this video, I guess. You're going to be sort of passing around the different ways you're trying to score from person to person, round to round. Because some rounds you're going to be trying to score based on color or potentially lack thereof in the tricks. And some of them you're going to be using more of a numerical, I need to get this sum total of my cards that I won as the way to score. There are also going to be individual objectives that you can do along the way. That is a different way of scoring. And they actually give some pictures down here. The tokens are going to represent, you know, some of the colors or a certain number of tricks if you lay them face up or face down. Here's the numerical aspect I was just mentioning. And here's more of the color and selection from that aspect, in addition to the conditions that I mentioned as well. Perfect Health Company. It's like this satire of a pharmaceutical company who says, oh, don't worry, we're doing things completely by the books and not cutting corners with illegal ingredients whatsoever. And it's actually a roll and write where you're going to be having 2 of these sheets, the schedule sheet and the profile sheet, and you're going to be slowly moving your pawn around the outside of this sheet based on the die rolls in the second phase, and you're going to be filling in these markers as you go along, and depending on where it lands and if stuff is already filled when it's doing these laps, you'll get additional combos and bonuses. What did it say? I believe it said 3 laps for the first round and a total, I think, of 7 laps for the end of the game to combo it. So again, it's a little bit of a different roll and write. So if you're looking at either of these as something slightly different and something adjacent to stuff you like in the first place, give it a look-see for a little bit more rundown, a little bit more clear, concise aspects of whether or not this is going to be appealing to you. So there you go. Then we're going over here with Overpower CCG. $200,000, which again is absolutely utterly fantastic. Even though it's a CCG, they're really playing off, this is Overpower revamped from the 90s when I was a kid. The problem is that there's absolutely zero how to play on this page, and even talking about the 4 aspects of Overpower that you're going to be using in order to battle your opponent to either knock their heroes out, do enough attacks over the course of the game to be declared the winner, or to do essentially your quests or your adventures, enough of them, I think all of them, all 7 of them, in order to win as well. And again, this is not me speaking from my great depth of knowledge of this game. It was actually me clicking over the Board Game Geek description, which has a much better description than anything on this page. There is just nothing on this page that tells you how to do it. And you can buy booster boxes of it. You can get all of this stuff. And they say that there's going to be a rule book out soon, but nothing yet right now. Where was it? I'm missing it. We'll go and we'll find it right here. More info, how to play. And it just says battle head to head, right? Rules are still being finalized. So I would imagine before the end of the campaign, you'll have them out sometime. And that's kind of what they said over on the Board Game Geek forums. But I'd actually recommend going over to Board Game Geek if you're really interested in the mechanics of this, because apparently someone also has put together a little bit of a overview with the old cards of how this one plays. There are going to be some nuances and some slight differences, and they basically just kind of run you through that. You want to play limited mode, you want to meet the team, everything else is there. But it's, you know, it's CCG, it's a little bit expensive, and you're getting foils and you're getting drops, because they're even doing things with some of the reward tiers, like the colored sheets or the uncut sheets. That's what it is, the uncut sheets right there. So, I mean, they're going full CCG, and if it's your ilk, I mean, I remember Overpower. I had the Marvel ones. I didn't know what I was doing with them whatsoever. So, nothing has changed, right? Still an idiot. Back then, still an idiot now. Then, this is a really intriguing premise to me, a Lunar Skyline, as another trick-taking game. Don't let the funding fool you. $7,000. It's doing another spin on what you're going to be doing in order to win the tricks, but also to score the points. The basic premise of this game is that each of these cards has 2 different suits that you can use to follow. And you bid how many tricks you think you're going to be winning at the beginning of a round, or a hand, I guess I should say. And if you achieve that, you get bonus points. You can combo that into your endgame score. Because as you're gathering these tricks, when you win one, you take the whole pile and you select one card to put on top that is going to be part of the set of things that you need in order to build your skyline, essentially, because these symbols are going to be necessary and there's going to be little objectives that you can achieve. But if you over or under, you're going to be potentially penalized. And that's the main different mechanic that goes along with it here. Here you can see some of the objectives right there that you're going to be achieving, and a little bit of deluxifications to go along with it, as well as this little extra skyline bonus, which you like set collect as well. If you, I believe, match or exceed, they say, the number of the bids that you have on a round by round basis. So trick takers, man, all the rage right now. I think it's cool, actually. I love seeing this stuff. So if you're interested, give it a look-see. It tells you everything you need to know on this page. There's plenty of content. There's a rule book as well. And you can pay anywhere from, $16 to $100 almost and get it all along the way. Ooh, plushie. 2-in-1 video. So I'm going to leave it at that. This is a nice little game from Dead Alive, and give it a look-see. And then we're talking Fabled, the Spirit Lands expansion. I actually briefly reviewed this, I don't know, was it last year or 2 years ago? And just a very interesting game from Crowdfunding, and it's going to give you more. I believe 2 expansions with this. Yes, the Eve of Times and a promo pack, like little expansion that's exclusive there. This is sort of a combo-driven, I don't want to say movement-based game, But what you have essentially is these 3 rows that you're creating out of these cards you draw, and you're moving your adventurers across various parts of these 3 rows. And when you play a card, you move like all your adventures across that. And there's a little bit of potential, I don't want to say take that, but that aspect, because you only have so many in the row, and you can, basically bump people off in that way. Or if you finish at the end, you're going to be slowly going along the path and choosing your direction sometimes, because there might be forks in the road in order to get the combos and meet the iconography that you're trying to achieve. Again, I'm not doing a good job of describing this one. It's different. It's not anything like I've really played. You can kind of see the paths that you do as they just connect from side to side here, and you transverse from one board to the other as you land on these iconographies based on how far you move each time. It's a nice thing. You're using the resources that you're gathering to slowly increase your books. There's 4 levels of these books, as they mentioned: the sun, the forest, the mountains, and the prairies. And basically just kind of, 1 to 2 to 2 to 3 to 3 to 4 in order to get that. Asymmetric allies, which have special abilities and asymmetries there. So it's an indirect game of confrontation. That's a very succinct way of doing it. So yeah, give it a look-see. Expansion content, I'll be frank with you guys, I'm not quite sure what's expansion content here in terms of what it's adding, but if we scroll here, we can see 3 new modules and a new scenario, because you can do these individual scenarios apart from just the actual setups and in addition. So more allies, kind of cool. Allies were probably my favorite part of this thing, because they have like crazy abilities, crazy cool abilities. Obstacles, guides, again, I'm going to leave this one to you. I'm going to let you guys figure this one out if this one's right for you. But small indie publisher putting out some solid stuff. You get playmats, no stretch goals. They're just stretching it out to begin with. And, well, actually, it's not funded. So 7,000 of the 10,000. Hopefully, it is funded by the time you guys are watching this then. Ultimate Voyage. Man, this is another cool looking sort of Euro exploration-esque adventure, historical-based game. And it's 15,000 of its, $7,000 funding goal right now. 1 to 4 players, 2 hours. It just kind of has a cool vibe here, as you're going to be taking this action system, playing one of your cards, spending one of your 2 resources, I think, or like porcelain and your army, in order to mitigate or strengthen that action in the first place, to explore, to travel from place to place, and to, well, resource manage, like we just talked about. The action strength in the action phase that I was just talking about, you can see outlined here, as you basically use the porcelain and the troops to strengthen it in addition. And to win the game, you play over a full game 9 rounds, or a quicker game of 6 rounds, or somebody reaching 15 and 15 of the 2 victory point scoring objectives that you can have. Here's where the historical aspect comes in. You have historical ports in the 16, I believe they say, different areas with landmarks that are going to be available that you're going to be traversing, as well as 2 oceans that you're crossing. As you're traversing here, using the landmarks, the bazaars, and the tracks in order to score more points, you'll also be drawing encounter cards and having objectives to score your victory points that they say right here, as you can see, are divided into 3 different decks and 3 different ways of achieving those goals in the first place. I'm not going to run you through all the actions. Again, my script doesn't allow it. My programming isn't up to par and not updated to the latest iOS version. So you can give a look-see. This is a relatively comprehensive rulebook in terms of how you're going to be interacting sailing, providing combat at the ports, as well as constructing each of the various structures that you're going to need to along the way. The exploration aspect is down here, as well as the diplomacy aspect. So when we go back over to the page, I mean, it looks rather appealing. And there's enough video content that you can give a quick look-see and see if these elements are right for you. 4 endgame triggers, 4 paths to victory. I think that's kind of cool. I like having different ways of achieving an endgame condition in that way. Apart from that, I mean, it's Little Monks. This is their first created, and it gives you plenty of information and how it's going to be played. I mean, look, you even have a learn while playing there as well. So you can get plenty of information to figure out whether or not this is going to be right for you. And this is one of those that I just like talking about because I don't have a clue on it, folks. It just seems like something that could be really under the radar, kind of cool. So I mean, again, this is where you got to go check it out. You can get a base edition here and 2 expansions to go along with it for $100. And the exclusivity here is going to be the extra deluxeifications of the game board, the tokens, and the tower. So there you go. Something different. I like the idea of it. You know what? This one has me intrigued. I'm going to go watch a playthrough video and see what the actual turns look like, because you know, better than I was expecting here. And I love seeing these things come out of nowhere. Umami Friends, the card game. This one has $35,000, which is really surprising to me again. Not because it doesn't look like it's doing something neat. I mean, I think the art is cool, but they've got like this kind of CCG model, and I wonder if part of it is from that, because they have these shiny booster packs that are available. Again, it reminds me of the page earlier with Overpower, where there's little information about how you're actually playing this. They have the briefest of overviews here that you can get, and I actually had to go to their YouTube page to get a good sense of how the flow of this game is going to go, because I was looking at it and going, okay, is this like a Doomlings? Is this something along those lines? But it kind of plays like a head-to-head CCG, if you will. You lay out these ingredients in rows, and then you're going to be basically taking one of, I think, like 3 actions on a turn-by-turn basis that allows you either to draw cards and sort of refresh your hand, play one of your cards down, or gather your recipes or your more special ingredients. And these ingredients actually have nothing to do necessarily with the picture, but the upper left-hand corner essentially are the symbols that you're going to be matching in order to achieve the recipes that you're going to try to make. And as you make stuff and set it down here in front of you, it sort of becomes a passive that will stay out there and allow you to create other things off of it in the first place. Pulling off more recipes. You can pull off combos by having a little energy symbol in the lower right hand corner of something you previously acquired or laid down to get another turn. And then you just rinse and repeat. Each of these are worth a certain number of points, and then you go until you get 30 points as a whole in order to win the game. The weird thing is just like they've got the collectible portion of things here, right? Booster packs, randomized, uncommon, rare, rare star, ultra, and secret rare star shinies with seal editions. I have no idea. I have no idea. So does that appeal to you? And it must appeal to some people, because I don't think it would be getting this much money otherwise, but it seems like an interesting concept from a combo driven card play aspect. So you can see that video up there that I was watching. And it's not expensive, so light style card game, but again, booster box for $60. I mean, that's comparatively, I guess, a lot less than booster boxes at retail for other games. But yeah, give them a look-see. And that is Umami. So there you go. Then we have Wish. I swear I've seen this one before, but I can't place it and I can't find it. So Unleashing Your Inner Djinn. And you're going to be traveling around as one of the 4 asymmetric djinns, utilizing their asymmetric abilities in order to sort of resource gather via crystals, moving from each of the 12 distinct areas on the map and gathering crystals, empowering them, and then turning them into victory points. You have 5 separate actions that are going to be available to you on a turn-by-turn basis. They include moving, gathering the crystals from the individual areas that you're in, utilizing the ability of that area as well, or trading with the caravan. Then the asymmetric abilities that you're going to be utilizing fulfills your wishes and the wish requirements that you have via your cards, and then building your engine in order to then also build monuments across the board as you proceed. So that is an overview of the game as a whole. Again, there's a little bit of GIF work all over here, so you can check it out from that aspect of things. And it's a little bit reminding me of something like a Tabriz from a couple years ago, which I think is in the process of being delivered really soon. There's a solo mode, 2 versus 2 mode. You know me, I always love seeing this sort of little diagram on the page. You can see how strategy driven versus lightweight and potentially dynamics that are going to be involved. So I love seeing this on a page. Again, it helps give you a better sense as a backer. Where do I sort of fall, and where do I sort of like those to fall in the first place? Kickstarter pledge gets you extra acrylic Djinn standees and double layered player boards with the stretch goals. So it's kind of weird that the core pledge doesn't get you the stretch goals, but so be it. Maybe the stretch goals are deluxeifications or things along those lines. Enough video on here. Again, you can see where I was just watching this one, because again, the actual details of those things that I just mentioned about the 5 different actions and the 12 different zones that you're going to be going through and the individual powers that are associated with them. I mean, there's a little bit here with the animations, but again, I wouldn't mind seeing a rule book for this one. So hopefully I'm just missing it. but that would be something I'd like to see. But either way, I mean, it seems like a solid lightweight engine builder, and I think that's why it's funded at $10,000. So give it a look, see if this one looks interesting to you. There you go. End of the roundup, right? I ran out of programming. Thank you at least for the positive ones. I appreciate those all the time. So, and let me know, like I said at the beginning of the video, is this helpful? I'm going to have a fantastic weekend working. Yeah, I'm working all weekend. I'm a little bit disappointed because I'm missing my 10-year-old's last soccer game. So, and he's having a good time. The coach that is, coaching them right now is doing a really good job. He is very enthusiastic, very knowledgeable, and he's very personable with the kids, like really, really helping all of them thrive. And it shows when they care more like that. And it's really empowering for the kids. And he's really enjoying himself much more so because of that. So I'm a little disappointed. And I was like, well, maybe if I go into work early and try and get out early. No, not going to happen. So I'm going to have my wife tape the whole thing. No, just kidding. That was my 9-year-old suggestion. He's like, well, can't you just have mom tape the whole thing, the whole 55 minutes on her iPhone? And I was like, well, in theory, yeah, buddy, but we'll see. And then one of you guys made a great comment as well. Speaking of great comments on the YouTube side of things about saying, yeah, it was off of the reviewer tabletop result thing where I said, well, do you cover the games you don't like? What do you do with the games you don't like? And someone said, hey, Dice Tower does this thing where they list out or they cover a couple games in a video and they say, hey, this one didn't jive with me, and quick X, Y, and Z, maybe why, but go check it out on other people's, because again, your mileage, your taste may vary, as it always does with this, right? Like my taste is horrible, as you well know. So that's it. I'm covering Avatar: The Journey of Aang next week from Bad Crow Games. So you can see a little bit about that if you want a little bit of a, press your luck race style, the Avatar: The Last Airbender vibe IP game. It's intriguing. It's a very interesting concept, and thematically I think it works well. So my full thoughts out on it from that standpoint. And again, I have one or two other games. I'm trying to get to the table Andromeda's Edge this weekend, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's going to be a next week. I've got a few days off from work, and I think that's just going to sit on the table for once, and I'm going to force myself to slog through it. And truth be told, I mean, I think it's going to be a slog for me to learn initially, but I'm hopefully going to be trepidatiously excited by it. I've got a few other things as well. Black Rose Wars, that'll be coming out soon. And there was something else too, multi-game review in 2 weeks. I pushed that one back, and it's got a couple other things in there that are just affecting the timing, and just cool stuff as well. I think I'll have another video of my current wish list this week in addition. And I guess one last thing I'd like to say is, the crowdfunding look back. Thank you for guys for supporting that. I did a little bit of different format, 3 years back into one video, and I think it worked really well. And so I think I'm going to continue in that format. So if there's anything else you'd like to see, let me know. I have another unpopular board game opinions video already filmed, and I've got a list of things for maybe 2 or 3 more. Because, right, I have my opinions on things, and that's why some of you tune in, and that's why some of you leave me those comments in the YouTube section. Peace out. I'm done. Can't top it. Can't come up with anything else. It's too late at night. Have a great freaking day. Good friends of the channel, I bid you adieu. Stay classy.